Hey, everybody, welcome to Far From the Tree, a podcast where you can learn, laugh, and even cry with your host, us, mother and daughter duo. Hey, everybody, welcome to Far From the Tree, a podcast where you can learn, laugh, and even cry with your host, us, mother and daughter duo, Jamie Dawn and Tatiana Maisel. I am a certified ICF leadership coach and astrologer, and Tatiana is a resident therapist dedicated to be of service to others through our gifts and life experiences. So get comfy, grab a favorite beverage, share this sacred space with us, and who knows what fruit may fall into your lap as you tune into Far From the Tree. Thank you so much for being here. Hi, Tatiana, darling. How are you? What's the
I'm
weather
great.
like for you today?
The weather is a beautiful sunny day in Florida today.
Lovely. What about inside of you? What kind of weather patterns are happening?
Partly cloudy, partly sunny, rather.
Yeah.
I'm going to paint it with positive, partly sunny.
Well, here in Reno, Nevada, we've had a lot of snow on the mountains. And of course, California is getting flooded because of it. And the Truckee area is under, I think, some places of 9 feet. I mean, you should see the berms that are being made and created by the snowplows as they come through. Some of our friends are showing pictures of like 50-foot high. I mean, it's
50?
50 because of how the snow gets piled up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of crazy. But
yeah,
inside today, I actually feel pretty sunny. So
sunny.
Today's a good day.
Matches your hair.
Oh, thanks. Yes. My hair will always be sunny as long as my hairdresser colors it. And I'm not ashamed to say that. I will say one thing, before we jump into our parent-child series here, we're on episode 2, that I told my hairstylist, I said, okay, I want to go as natural as possible, but stay blonde, right? Yeah, well, she seems to think natural means my grays are allowed to show. So I'm gonna have to do an autocorrect on that one.
I mean, she's not wrong.
She's not wrong. That's true. But I'm
just
too
not what you like.
I'm too vain for that. Especially because I'm still too young for gray, in my opinion.
Because you're hot, Jamie.
Story for another time. Story for another time. So yeah, we are recording our episode 2 on parenting and child, little mini series. And in this one, in the first episode, we talked about, just touched on some attachment styles. We talk about why it's important for us as adults and in this human experience, our first experiences are in relationship or with our parents, whether they were present or absent, and why they're so important to understand as we keep reshaping ourselves, unbinding, healing being a constant practice. It is not something that's one and done. And understanding at a deeper level how we were shaped in our early childhood and early relationships and how they inform us now. And then the things that we can pay attention to and unbind, if you will, from maybe some of those old patterns that just don't work or can sabotage our current lives and relationships and things like that. So thought we would take this second episode to go a little bit deeper and specifically talk about attachment styles. So, there's the 3 different types. You and I both have a wonderful little library of resource that we'll reference in this episode as well. And let's just talk about a bit of attachment style. Do you want to introduce it?
The concept of it is essentially that we create attachments. All attachments are normal. They just show up differently, and how we can work with them shows up differently. They are typically developed in early childhood in relation to our caregivers, whoever that may be. And some of them can be debilitating at times. And, if you're secure, which essentially is the only secure attachment style, the issues may show up, but you're able to regulate whatever is going on a whole lot better than someone who is, say, anxious or avoidant or a blend, which is often called disorganized. So yeah, there are certainly a lot of resources on it. There's a lot of studies on it. It was first, and I don't know why I'm blanking on this person. I want to say it was Bowlby, developed the attachment styles based on rhesus monkeys, based on a study that he did. Are you familiar with that one?
I am not.
Oh, it is John Bowlby, silly me. Yeah, so he placed infants in an unfamiliar situation, separated from their parents, which was a terry cloth rhesus monkey, and was essentially looking to see what reactions came out of that. And so for those that had the physical rhesus mother, there usually developed a secure attachment. And those that had the cold, aloof terry cloth monkey, anxious or avoidant, because it was very foreign. They knew something was wrong about this monkey. It was not that parenting kind of monkey that they needed. It wasn't going to offer them comfort, even though some of them they did. They went and they tried and to hug onto it and seek, to co-regulate with it. But obviously it's impossible when you're just terry cloth and wire. And so from there, it has flourished and has been widely studied since.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite references, resources for attachments for those who are listening that want to do a little bit deeper research on it?
Personally, the reading anything on John Bowlby would be good because he's the founder and things have developed from him. The book Attached by Levine and Heller was pretty life-changing because it does go into some of those components and then gives you tools and resources within the book on how to work with your attachment style, work with your partner even. I often give clients, whether they're a couple or an individual, doesn't matter. I often give them a quiz. It's an attachment styles quiz by the Attachment Project. And if you just type it into Google, attachment styles quiz, usually that's like the first one that comes up. Pretty short, take it, and usually spits out your response pretty quickly. But once you know what it is that you're dealing with, it's easier to work with. And if you want to become earn secure, which is having an insecure attachment, moving to a secure attachment, it's possible to do that.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3 different types of attachment styles. And you touched on them all. We're going to go a little bit deeper. So the 3 types are anxious, secure, avoidant. And based on the research that's out there, Levine and Heller in particular, that I'm referencing, they describe anxious as a baby becomes extremely distressed when mommy leaves the room. When her mother returns, she reacts ambivalently. She is happy to see her, but angry at the same time, and she takes longer to calm down. Even when she does, it's only temporary. A few seconds later, she'll angrily push mommy away, wriggle out, and burst into tears again. So, I'll keep going up with all 3. The secure baby is visibly distressed when mommy leaves the room. When mother returns, she's very happy and eager to greet her. Once in the safety of her presence, quick to be reassured, calm down, and resume play activity. And then avoidant, when mommy leaves the room, this baby acts as though nothing has happened. Upon her return, she remains unmoved, ignores her mom, and continues to play indifferently. But this facade doesn't tell the whole story. In fact, inside, the baby is neither calm nor collected. Researchers have found that these babies' heart rates are actually just as elevated as other babies who express immense distress, and their cortisol levels, a stress hormone, are high. So of these 3, going a little bit deeper, first of all, what would you identify with, Tatiana?
Anxious. And I notice that in my patterns. And I notice that specifically in my patterns with partners. I want to say that it probably stems from the relationship that I had with my dad. That's the only logical thing I can really pinpoint because with you, I'm pretty secure. And you know what? I'm going to go on a little tangent for a second. I know that I'm secure with you because I can call you out on stuff. I'm free to feel angry in your presence. I'm free to say, Mom, I don't think that's right. And we can have a dialogue about it. You don't backlash at me. You're like, oh, why is that? Or even so, maybe you give it back to me and we do our thing, but we're safe enough with each other to do that. So I do not feel the same way with my dad, unfortunately. Like there are certain things that I would like to call him out on, and it's not like big stuff, but maybe it's like asserting my opinion in certain places, right? Just like little things. Body says, it's not safe to do that. And so I've noticed that with my partners. And I want to say that it's particularly because they're male, and I probably feed that into, anxious with the first male in my life. Now I'm anxious with other males, right? But that's an assumption. I don't know. But noticing when, yes, it's when they leave, right? When my partner leaves, those fears and bad thoughts start to creep in. Do they have any basis? No, not really, but that's what anxiety is.
Right.
Right. That's that general worry, that sense of worry and dread sometimes that we get. And it's not fair to them because I'm over here making assumptions, right? Sometimes that's where accusations can come in or anything like that. Or sometimes that's when my clinginess comes out. And I know that can be a lot for that partner. Happy to say that Talbot and I have really worked on that kind of stuff. It does still come out, even though we've worked on it, but I'm now able to regulate myself. And I think that's where the key is.
You're touching on a couple of symptoms, if you will, or actions that happen for an anxious style. You said the clinginess. What are some other identifiers of anxious?
Everyone responds differently. And everyone has different patterns of how they show up, but not feeling insecure. Obviously, it's an insecure attachment, right? But feeling insecure about myself and needing constant reassurance that was a big thing, right? So for me, my love language used to be words of affirmation. Oh, I love you. You're beautiful. You look good. Oh, okay, that means you're interested in me. That means things are okay. I'm doing the right stuff. But it's very surface level, Still, it's important. Not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy. Like, why would this person want to be with me? Like, what makes me so good? There's probably someone better out there. There's probably someone who looks better out there, and that's what they want. They're going to gravitate toward that anyway. Being on high alert. Maybe there's a threat. It's possible that there is some sort of like separation anxiety that could creep in. Right? Okay, the person that I trust and I love and care for is gone. I can't see them. What if something bad happens? What if I don't know where they are? What if I'm without them for too long and I haven't heard from them and now I'm really going to start to panic, right? And so like there's like those small safety elements, but they can come off to a partner as being very needy or being clingy or being overbearing or nagging or whatever.
Suffocating.
Right.
Yep.
And it's still, there's nothing an anxious person can really do in the moment to stop it, right? So as I'm learning with trauma, right, your sympathetic nervous system is turned on. It's in that state, fight or flight, right? We got to do something. And so when you're in that place, you can't regulate yourself. You can't calm yourself down. That's the point of the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's when that emotion regulation comes in. But if you don't know any of that, it's just going to keep taking over.
Yeah, it's almost like a blind bat out of hell. I mean, you just, you can't sense anything else than that anxiety. And
Right.
It's interesting too, because we'll touch on avoidant next in a second. But what's interesting is I know for myself, I can be anxious and avoidant depending on the situation or the relationship. So, and the secure, what you're talking about, the secure, like you and I having this secure attachment with each other. And yet with previous partners, I was more avoidant. With my current partner, I'm more anxious. And so it shows up in different ways depending on the situation. And so I know for myself, my anxious attachment style came from my childhood. That is a direct relationship that I've had with my father over the years.
Mhm.
And then it turned into avoidant when it became too intense of the anxiety, and I just couldn't handle always needing and clinging and getting what then I would rebel and go, I don't really care. But inside, I was still just like the avoidant. And I'll segue into that for a second. The avoidance talking about how it's a facade, that you become really detached and you don't want it. It's like, oh, I don't really care about anything. And I can tell you from experience, inside, you care very deeply. All you want to do is connect, but you also need space. And I think that's the other thing, is that when you put the anxious who's grabbing and clinging with an avoidant who's like, I need some space, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know how to do this right now, it's a really interesting combination, right? And to have that inside of yourself on a not regular basis, but to have that duality going on is not an easy thing.
No, you're playing tug of war.
Exactly. So, and I touch on some of the symptoms, I guess, of the avoidant, or some of the telltale things of, the avoidant. If things get too intense, they will say, they pull away, they run away. They may ghost you for a couple of days, and you don't understand why. And really, all they want is, it's their fear of abandonment that's coming in, and all they want is to know that they're safe and secure with you and can still go do their own thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'll tell you it's said that like anxious and avoidant people should not come together. But guess what? That's the perfect melting pot of chaos, if you want to call it. But also, it's a great opportunity to learn from each other. It's an awesome opportunity to work through your stuff. But again, you have to be willing to do that, right? It takes a lot of communication. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of self-analysis. Like, okay, what's going on with me? How am I presenting myself to my partner? Do they feel safe enough to come to me and say, I can't deal with your energy right now, or this is what's going on for me on the inside when you act like this, and I need you to be aware of it. The best thing that Talbot had ever said to me was, I'm going to go watch a movie by myself. I just need to be alone. We're good. Go have a good time with your friends. I'm like, that was perfect. You do that every time, because my anxious self says, cool, you don't want to be away from me. You just need personal space. Thank you for like absolving me of feeling guilt or feeling nervousness or fear that you're going to leave me, that I've done something wrong, rather, that I like pushed you away, that you need to go and be by yourself. No, I just need some space. Cool. Tell me that every time.
Absolutely. I think that is such a crucial thing. And, my current partner, there was one night or one day, he had called me in the morning on his way to work, and he said, you know what, I just need to spend some time tonight doing bills and, that sort of thing. It'd be boring for you to be here. Everything's good with us. We're okay, is what he said. We're okay. I just needed to be able to do that. I was like, perfect, fine. Have a good time. And I was able to utilize my time in the evening thinking about, work stuff or, whatever, and not worrying about when am I going to hear him. Because one of the other telltale signs of anxiety or that anxious attachment is you get that, it's like a drug. You get that shot in the arm, you wait, and you're nervous about whatever. And then suddenly he calls and you're like, oh, okay, I'm okay now. And then a few hours go by and you wait again. You're like, okay, he should call me, or I texted him and he didn't text me within an hour. What's going on? He's having second thoughts. He doesn't want to, whatever. And so that's another telltale sign of that anxious style that can show up.
Yeah, it's like waiting to open up your Christmas presents or your birthday presents or Hanukkah, whatever. Anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'll segue this into, it's not just romantic partners that this shows up. This is something I work with a lot of individuals. We may not use it on the therapeutic sense, but on the coaching side of things, I'm able to look at, okay, their response to their boss or their coworker or whatever is happening in relationship, not just work wise, even on their own personal level. I can look at these attachment style or these telltale signs and go, okay, this is an anxious individual or this is an avoidant individual. And now I know how to meet them where they're at and to help them learn tools to emotionally regulate, to self-regulate.
Yeah. I've noticed, yeah, you're right. It's not just with romantic partners. It's not just with parents. I've noticed for myself that it happens with my employers. That's a big one where it's like, oh, they just walked in and they're not in a good mood. Did I do something that they found out about, even though I know I didn't do anything wrong today? Like, did they check the cameras? Okay. First off, they don't care that much. They don't have that kind of time to watch the cameras all day. That's not what they're doing. Second, why do you think you're so special that you did something to affect them so much? They could have had a bad phone call from a customer or, an email that was unsavory from the city with permits or their dog died. It can be a whole bunch of things. Why do you automatically think that it's you?
Yeah. And I'll lead this into ourselves as well. If we have a secure attachment within ourselves, then we won't have the same type of reactions that an anxious or avoidant attachment inside of us could have. And so it's a constant practice, just like healing's an ongoing practice. This is an ongoing practice. It's not to say we won't be triggered if we're secure and safe within ourselves, but we'll know how to go, okay, I'm angry or I'm disappointed or I feel what I feel, but I'm not attached to those feelings. And I can, remind myself, like you're pointing to, it's not about me. There,
Right.
I often say to my clients is that when someone, the other, whoever it might be, reacts or blows up or gets emotional, whatever shows up, maybe is aloof, is that they're showing you a data point of what's happening inside of them. It's not about you. If you did something directly to them or you said something to them that offended them, it's still about them.
Right.
You're responsible for how you deliver it. But
Right.
if there is nothing to defend, there's nothing to get offended over, they're not going to react.
Mm-hmm. And emotion regulation that's okay. Emotion regulation is easier for people who are secure. It is more difficult for those that are anxious or avoidant or disorganized. They have people that are secure, exactly like the rhesus monkey. They have had that mother comfort when they're feeling fear. Oh, good, we just co-regulated. Okay, I'm good. I'm going to go out and play with my friends again until I'm starting to feel frazzled. And then I'm going to come back and make sure that you're here and that you're okay, and so on and so forth. And if we get that terry cloth monkey, we're never able to co-regulate. We're never able to learn that what's going on inside of us is okay. It's normal. We start to panic. We start to think something's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what are you finding advice wise as well as experience wise that helps you regulate when you're triggered through, say, anxiety?
When I'm feeling anxious, I have found, depends on my setting, but I know that you can stimulate the vagus nerve. And there's a few ways to do that. My favorite is to sing really loud in the car. And it doesn't necessarily take away all of my anxiety, but it does calm me down. The other is to take some deep breaths. So I've downloaded an app called Calm. It's like $5 a month. Not selling it to you, but if you're interested. And it offers soundscapes, it offers meditations, it offers breathing techniques. And I found that like when I was alone in the apartment, I just put on some like cabin sounds. I'm like, oh, I'm good. This is fine. It's not empty and quiet anymore. I'm like in a cabin with the fire crackling and someone's pouring a cup of coffee. Delicious. It's great. But also if I'm not in the cabin, right? If I'm not in the apartment, there's breathing stuff. Okay, I'm just going to sit here for 2-3 minutes. I'm not someone who can sit there for 10-20 minutes and do a meditation. No, it doesn't work for me. But I can listen to someone guide me through breathing. And so I'll turn that on and I'll do that. Other things that are helpful for regulation is if you have someone around and you feel safe with them, asking them, can I have a hug? Can I sit with you? Can you hold my hand? Can we talk for a minute? Can I process stuff? I just need some perspective. Anything that helps you to feel more in tune with your needs and more in tune with what's going on around you, right? Anxiety is a product of survival, right? It's necessary, at least evolutionarily, it's necessary for survival. It lets you know there's stress going on in your body. It's a natural reaction. Your brain, on the other hand, right? Your brain is meant to keep you safe. It's not meant to keep you happy. Anxiety is going to come in, fear, doubt, all that's going to come in. And then it's your job to say, I have these tools, I'm going to use them. You know, kids, like when a kid is crying, essentially, we can hope the parent, the caregiver will go to that child and pick them up and say, oh, baby, are you okay? Give me a hug. Let me hold you for a second. Sometimes that's all they need. Sometimes that's not enough because there's something bigger going on. But sometimes a really big squeeze is what we need, right? We can co-regulate with someone through the heartbeat, through the breath. We can model that for somebody. If I have a client that's sitting in front of me and they're talking a mile a minute, I will personally go just right in front of them. And sometimes they catch on, sometimes they don't. But regardless, it's for me because I'm like, you talking that fast is really winding me up. I really need to calm down myself because I'm dysregulated now by listening to this, right?
Yeah.
That tone and that pace.
Yeah. You know, one of the things too, thank you, because one of the other things that I do, I will work out, I'll go exercise. So moving the energy that way helps me. And then also when I'm feeling anxious, if I can get out of my own head, my own way, and be of service, connect with others, because my conditioned tendency is to withdraw and just to be internalized and to suffer silently, if you will, as I do it. So using those kinds of coping mechanisms, if you will, or tools have helped me too in dealing with that. And then for an avoidant, what kind of tools could they use in order to self-regulate?
I would say much of the same. Avoiding is you're right, it's like a facade. You're detached and aloof on the outside, you're independent, you're not needing anybody. But love and belonging and safety are merely base needs that every human has to have, or we feel incomplete and we don't feel settled. And so even for an avoidant person that puts on this persona of not needing people, can't commit, can't do, relationship, it scares them. It doesn't feel right, doesn't feel safe. They're maybe constantly living in a state of chaos. Maybe they have a ton of trauma going on. Maybe the environment they grew up in wasn't settled and calm and felt good, right? But even so, it's almost like a behavioral activation strategy. I don't need anybody. Deep down, okay, you probably do. So this might be a really good time to call your best friend, to send a text to someone, hey, I'm thinking about you. Hey, would love to talk if you have a minute. And maybe you don't talk about what's really going on, but sometimes just knowing that someone is willing to talk or able to, or, shoot the shit, whatever can help. It's like, oh, okay, like I can reach out, I can do this, but we have to do that, right? So behavioral activation is essentially doing the thing you don't want to do. When you're not feeling motivated to do something, you got to do it anyway. Motivation is bullshit, right? Mel Robbins talks about, she's like, it's bullshit. But that's where self-discipline comes in.
And it goes back to sometimes the things that taste good are not good for, that aren't always good for us. And the things that aren't always good for us don't always taste good. I didn't say that right. I'm going to repeat that.
Try that again.
Retry that again. Rewind. And Joan, don't worry, my wonderful assistant doesn't need to edit this part. But it is the thing, sometimes the things that taste good are not always good for us. And the things that don't taste good are good for us. So, and
spoonful of sugar helps medicine go down.
That's right. That's right. Well, it's interesting going back to the avoidant attachment. When I was a child, I threw temper tantrums like there was no tomorrow. And I was shoved into my room and left with the door closed, more or less, or locked. I couldn't come out of my room until I could calm down. And ultimately, what I wanted, even though the most of the time the trigger was I didn't get what I wanted, but what I needed was to know I wasn't alone. I needed to know I wasn't abandoned. And I felt abandoned by being shoved in my room. And a lot of that is because, parents don't know what you don't know. And my parents did the best they could with what they were given, but they didn't know how to handle my outburst. And so, for me, I don't recall you and your brother ever having a temper tantrum moment, really. I mean, you cried, but there wasn't like, where I threw you in your room and said, just be there and figure this out. Um, but I think that if my mom had handled it differently, because she was the one that was around most of the time, my dad was working all the time, that if my mom had just been present with me without trying to fix it and just let it kind of run its course, I probably wouldn't have, one, had as many, and two, probably wouldn't have lasted as long.
Right.
So I think that's the other thing, is that as adults, we obviously don't have temper tantrums like we do as kids, where we're screaming and, throwing our arms and legs around or whatever on the floor. But we do have temper tantrums when we bully somebody, when we get angry and we start spewing all kinds of shite on them. And, or even the avoidant has that temper tantrum inside where it's like, I want what I want, I'm not getting it, so go away. And so I think one of the other tools for self-regulation with the avoidant is to be connected deeply within themselves, that somatic awareness of what's happening for me right now. And, the interesting thing is when my partner will sometimes say, I can get in my car and just leave. And then my anxious attachment in the past would go, oh God, please don't leave. I'll be good. I'll be the good girl, whatever. And one thing that has helped shift things there is that I'm able to look at him and say, what's happening for you right now?
Mm-hmm.
And if I know there was an incident that happened a couple weekends ago, I knew exactly what triggered it. And so I took a moment, I took a step back, I took a deep breath, went upstairs, and I said, I apologize. And he said, apology accepted. The end. That was it. So, um,
So
yeah,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, learning how to navigate those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it takes work. It takes acknowledging it. And again, like some people, like if you're cool with how things are going for you, like that's awesome. Keep doing your thing. But for those of us that are really tired of the patterns that we've been in or the feelings that we're feeling and want an answer, right? Some of us have just a great thirst for knowledge. Like, why am I like this? And I think that's probably part of why I chose mental health counseling was, obviously to help part of myself and then give back to other people in that way. And I forgot why I started talking about this, but there's plenty of ways that we can change. That's what it was. So some other possibilities are writing positive affirmations to yourself, right? Giving to yourself, building on that wise older parent or wise older sibling kind of thing, giving to yourself what you didn't have before. If I didn't have someone tell me that I'm a beautiful person, I'm going to tell me I'm a beautiful person. If I didn't have someone tell me that I was worthy or lovable or deserving of life and beauty and affection and all these things, I can tell myself that. I'm going to rewire those negative thought patterns in my brain. It's going to take some time. These patterns weren't created overnight, but I'm going to do that, right? Coaching yourself positively is another thing, right? So noticing the other night, okay, so starting to feel triggered, starting to feel these things, what's really going on? Instead of getting trapped in that anxious cycle of, oh my God, I haven't heard from him. He's lying to me. He's cheating. Like, and I say to yourself, bitch, girl, there is no reason for that man to step out on you, that person to step out on you. There's not. So what's really going on? I'm feeling disappointed. Good. Keep going. I'm feeling disappointed because I thought you might be home sooner and we could have more time together because I haven't seen you in so long. Boom. Excellent. You got to keep mining that for yourself. And once you have that, you can approach your partner with it. Hopefully they take it non-aggressively. It's not a pointed statement. I'm feeling disappointed because I thought you'd be home sooner. And usually it's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that it would be that long. Like, thought it would be, maybe a couple hours shorter. Like, I tried to keep you in the loop. I didn't know what was going on. That's fine. Just letting you know where I'm at.
How could we as adults, and whether you have a physical child or you're working with your inner child, how can we parent ourselves in a way that helps to create more security,
Mm,
or parent the child to have more security?
it's a good question. Um, so something I'm looking at, which you actually just touched on, is doing imaginal inner child work using creative visualization. And the person writing this is Dr. Shorey. And he is saying that you will get comfortable, relax, ready to do a short meditation, closing your eyes. Imagine seeing yourself as a young child. It often helps to see your child sitting out in a meadow or something calming, I'm sure. And introduce yourself as the future you. Tell the child that you made it, you grew up, that you've come to love them, and you'll always be there for them. You'll never leave them. And then see how the child responds. Talk back and forth to that kid. You know that kid really well. What are they feeling? I know you're feeling scared right now. I know you're feeling disappointed. I know you're feeling left out. I know you're feeling angry. I remember what that's like. I'm here to tell you you're going to make it through. It doesn't feel like it right now. It feels like the end of the world. But I'm older and I'm looking back. I'm here to take you out of that. So if you can trust me, I promise that we're going to be okay. Give them the tools. Hey, little me, this is what I need you to do. I need you to get up from your spot. I need you to go play with that butterfly. I need you to go run around in the sunshine or climb that tree or lay down by the water. And I need you to be a kid. I need you to know that I'm always going to be here for you to make sure that you're safe, even if those people that we call, our parents didn't make you feel so safe, or that boss didn't make you feel so safe, or that partner. I'm going to keep you safe.
Yeah, I love that. And that's something that, can translate into our everyday lives. We can use that when our boss is having a bad day and create some anxiety, or the avoidant attachment in us to show up, is that we can remind ourselves that it's not about us. Number two, that we can respond differently. We can check in. What's happening inside of me? I'm disappointed that my boss didn't recognize me today and didn't give me the attention that I think I should have. Well, what my adult self can do is toot my own horn, and to be able to say, I did a really good job. And maybe I'm feeling disconnected from my boss. So I can reach out and say, hey, let's set up a one-on-one. Let's just connect. There's so many different ways that we can translate this into everyday life. And I will say, all the parents out there, if you have young children, even adult children, but mostly, catch them when they're young, just be fully present. Remind them that they're going to move through it. And that if you can really connect with them and let's put it this way, radical acceptance. One of the things that I swore I would never do with Tatiana, with you and your brother, was to try and tell you who you are. I felt my role was to create a safe environment for you to discover who you are and to step into that. And so that's part of why I didn't want to change you or stop you from feeling whatever you had to feel. So, and I would say, to me, that's the most secure thing you can do. I actually welcome when people come to me and challenge me and say, you said this and it really offended me. You know what? I own that. Thank you for sharing that. I apologize. It was not my intention.
And that is the definition of a secure relationship, that they feel with you. That's
Yes.
safety.
Yes.
And that's what we hope as coaches, therapists, people that work with others. Like, that right there is what we hope that we can get from our clients. I say that all the time, and I'm sure you do too. Like, if this isn't the right fit, let me know. I want to find you somebody that is.
Right.
At the same time, I'm going to push back. If I've said something to you that you don't like, or something that we're doing in here isn't working, let me know so I can change it. But I'm not going to know unless you tell me.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. I know that we could continue, but we're keeping our podcast at a certain amount of time. We don't want to get too lengthy because this is a mini series. We're going to continue. I think that we have plenty more of this to talk about in our next episode. So for now, I will say thank you for this time and this brilliance. And hopefully, everyone listening has learned a little something. Maybe, if nothing else, you're curious about your own attachment style, go take the quiz, look up Attached to get the book. I think it's a fantastic one by Amir Levine and Rachel S.F. Heller. And then one other book that Tatiana put me onto was Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. And that one was really powerful for validating a lot of things. And for me, that book in particular, and we may cover this in our next episode, that one allowed me to let myself off the hook, that it wasn't always my fault. So,
Man, yeah, that book just spends like the entire first like 8 chapters validating every experience you probably ever had.
yeah,
It's incredible.
yeah,
And sometimes really like that's all you need is just that validation. Oh, I'm not crazy. This is awesome. This is
exactly,
great.
exactly. All right, where can people find you?
Find me on Psychology Today. I am in the state of Virginia. I can take on clients. My Instagram is private for myself. It's more like a journal diary for my own thing, so I'm not on there. Right now I'm at Pathways Family and Community Services. So for anyone that's in Virginia and seeking a therapist, if anything I've said that resonates with you, like please reach out. I'd be happy to talk.
Love
See
it.
if I'm a right fit.
Yeah. Thank you. And you can find me at jamiedawn.com. That's the simplest and easiest way. I'm all over social media as well. And thanks everybody for listening. Look forward to connecting with everyone in our next episode. Have a great day.
Bye, y'all.